Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
More specifically, just Violet, mostly. At least the plot.
I guess that's a fair point. We both played Violet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are probably some Scarlet things that we don't know about. I did look into it a little bit, but not enough. So there are definitely going to be Scarlet things we miss.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't want to get spoilers. Yeah, cool. Description: catch, battle, and train Pokemon in the Paldea region, a vast land filled with lakes, towering peaks, wastelands, small towns, and sprawling cities. Explore a wide open world at your own pace, and traverse land, water, and air by riding on a form-shifting legendary Pokemon, Karaden in Pokemon Scarlet and Miraiden in Pokemon Violet. Choose either... God, I should have practiced these names. Choose either Sprigatito, Fuecoco, or Quaxley to be your first partner Pokemon before setting off on your journey through Paldea.
Awesome. Thanks. And then production, just developed by Game Freak. We know them for all the Pokemon games. Ones that we've covered before are Red and Blue. We did Sword and Shield, and we did Arceus.
Mm-hmm.
Was Arceus by Game Freak too?
Yes.
Okay. That one I was less sure because of the main line or not.
I'm pretty confident it was. Let me just confirm real quick.
Yeah, I think it was. Because I guess that, for like your remasters, like when Brilliant Diamond and Pearl or whatever, I think that those were someone else for the remakes.
But, were they?
Yeah, I don't think Game Freak did those.
Arceus is Game Freak.
Okay, good confirmation. Yeah, so those are ones we did. If you want to hear us talk more Pokemon after this, those are three that we've done before. So Pokemon, definitely a wheelhouse we've been in. Jordan, big fan. Me, newer, I would say, back into it. Played as a kid and then came back a couple years ago when we did Sword and Shield.
Yeah, didn't you play Red and Blue and then not play anything until Sword and Shield?
Yes. So I didn't
skipped a couple hundred generations there.
Yeah. Went from 150 Pokemon to like 800 by the time I was back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I've played enough that there are Pokemon who I'm like, you're familiar, and it's not just Pikachu. So
yeah, that's fair.
So that's good. I'm much better now. So okay, before we dive into our like recap and kind of diving deeper on the game, first we wanted to talk about some non-spoiler thoughts, give you some general ideas of what we thought about the game, stuff like that, before getting into anything too big. I think first thing I want to lead off with is I thought this game had a great storyline. I think they did story probably the best of most Pokemon games that I've played, which I guess, as we've talked about, is only 4. But, the normal Pokemon games that I've played have largely consisted of you're a prodigy of some sort, you need to go and beat all these gyms, and, there's some type of bad guy probably kind of thing. And this had some of that formula, but I thought they took it a little deeper. It wasn't just, you always wanted to be the best that ever was or something like that. And then added people to your journeys that kind of helped flesh that out and sort of explain what that was like. So I thought they really nailed that specific.
Yeah, I also did enjoy the story. I liked having, multiple main stories at the same time. You can kind of progress at your own pace for the most part. That was cool, and I think that added to the story. Is that it was so like in other Pokemon games, you're like battling gyms. Eventually, there's some team fill in the blank that's like doing something bad, stealing Pokemon, whatever, and then you fight them, beat them, go to the Elite Four, whatever. This game is different. It switches up the formula a little bit, and you can kind of do things however you want, whenever you want to, generally. So yeah, I think that did add to like the goodness of the game.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I that's actually one thing I liked a lot was having multiple of the main storylines at once. You can kind of do different sections at different times, and progress different parts of the story in different ways. That was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. That if you wanted to go all in on the gyms and that was where you wanted to spend your time, you could get pretty deep into that before touching the other stories. Or if you were really into one of the other ones, you just had kind of that flexibility, which was cool.
Yeah, one thing about this is So they do say you can do whatever you want at your own pace, but that's not entirely true because there's no scaling. Like the gym leaders have the same level Pokemon no matter what order you fight them in. Same with like some of the other things. So you technically can do it at your own pace, but if you fight like the last gym leader first, you're gonna get probably just obliterated. So I think there's like some. It's not totally open to whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. That's just something worth noting.
Yeah, that's actually maybe my biggest criticism in this game, or a thing I didn't like as much, is I think that of course, last year, Pokemon Legends Arceus and Violet and Scarlet came out in the same year, and they each brought new features, but did them sort of different ways. And I think for me, I preferred like the hub world, quote unquote, for Pokemon Legends Arceus to the open world here. So in Arceus, when you played that, you had Region 1, and once you made it through Region 1, you were allowed to go to Region 2, and so on. And you could go back through them, versus here, you can theoretically go anywhere on the map, assuming you have the capability to and are willing to walk there or whatever. What I didn't like in this, like you said, there's not scaling. And so what I did early into the game was I looked up, okay, what's kind of the easiest order to do these in, so that I'm not going to like gym level 7 when I'm only level 20 or something. Like, I don't want to go through that. And so I felt like I was kind of traveling back and forth across the map. Like, okay, I beat this gym on the far right side of the map. Okay, now I have to go all the way to the left to do gym 2. And I think I would have preferred some of a path. Just because then I'm not running back and forth. Once you could fast travel and all of that, like they did a fantastic job on that part of it. So like the back half of the game, traveling was super easy because you'd been everywhere. So that was nice, but I think what sort of sucks about an open world in this is like if I went to the hardest area of the map, I'm not allowed to catch the Pokemon that's there anyway. They won't let me catch it.
Well, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, even if you somehow did, beat it to where you could catch it, which you couldn't, but if you somehow could, you wouldn't be allowed to catch it anyway, because, as you do the gyms, you're allowed to catch Pokemon that are level 20, level 40, level whatever. So even if I did happen to somehow find and beat, a level 50 Pokemon way too soon, I can't keep it anyway.
Yeah. Kind of pointless.
Yeah, and so I feel like that sort of defeats the point of open world. Because like I guess in another open world game, like what if you got a weapon you should have never had because you beat someone you shouldn't have been able to beat?
Yeah, but that's open world.
Yeah, the open world would allow that possibility. Here, like you don't really get that. So I don't know. I think Arceus might have had it right in terms of that, or you need to like remove some of those restrictions, like you have to beat the gyms for this or that, because
yeah,
I don't know. I'm not
just
sure.
Have scaling.
Yeah, or scaling. I think that would make sense too.
That would solve it completely.
Yeah.
Like if you one thought I had was so like as you venture around the world, if you go to like let's just say the most difficult area, you somehow get there like first or second, the Pokemon would just be scaled down. Like they'd have like the not evolved forms of them. They'd be around your level, give or take 5 or 10 levels. I don't know what, like something like that. And they could do that. That's not that crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that would solve it, and it would still be an open world.
Yeah, I think if they want to keep things as is.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've got to do something. If the next game comes out and it's the exact same way, I would say that they're playing it wrong.
Yeah, I think most people would probably be pissed about that, but yeah, I agree. I do like the hub in Arceus. The one thing I did like about this game was there was more towns and like things you could do and places you could go. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
My gripe with Arceus was there was only one town, but not that big of a gripe. Yeah. Let's see. I do like the assortment of Pokemon they included. I wish they'd included all the Pokemon, but I'm okay with what they did include. And I liked the assortment. It was a different than a lot of games. I feel like most games you have like specifically. I can't remember a game where they didn't have like Abracadabra and Alakazam in it. And they didn't in this game. So I thought I liked those Pokemon, but I was kind of like, oh, you did something different. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it seems like the Gen 1s that always get included is like Gengar's always around. Eevee seems to always be around.
Yep. Because now Eevee has like 7 evolutions that are, I don't know how many different generations.
Yeah.
4, 3. So you kind of have to include.
Yeah, and that's a good one to keep bringing back, I guess. I saw Psyduck. I think he's there a lot.
Yep. Gen 1.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Gen 1.
Yeah, I guess that those are... People probably like the classics.
They should.
Yeah. Whenever they introduce new ones that are like them, like if there's a new bird, I'm just like, new Pidgey. Like that's
yeah,
just,
new Pidgey 4.
Yeah, that's how I always kind of process them. I'm like, all right, it's like Pidgey.
Yeah, but it's red this time.
Right. Yeah, that's my way of going.
Fair.
Another thing I liked in this game was that all the Pokemon were visible. So if, Sword and Shield a few years ago, Wild Area is the first time where you get that and you're like, oh, this is great. And then Arceus, was it that way the whole time? You wouldn't...
All visible, yep.
Okay, yeah, you didn't get surprised in tall grass or whatever, which is nice.
Nope, not at all, yeah.
So doing more of that I thought was great. One thing I didn't like on the other side of that is some of the Pokemon are really small.
Yeah, they are.
And so I would be like, trying to ride my bike really fast, and I'd keep running into Pokemon, especially at the end of the game, running into ones that are like level 10, and I'm like, I'm level 70, I don't want to deal with this, and getting called into battle. So it felt like being in the tall grass again. So I think that if they could just maybe size everything up a little bit, so that it doesn't look weird, where like, just everything's a little bigger.
Your tiny bug Pokemon's like as big as your, I don't know, rock Pokemon or something.
Right, yeah. So and then you sizing up too. Like if everything just moved up a little bit, I think that would be helpful to have less like Pokemon you didn't mean to find.
Yeah, I do agree completely. I forget the name of the Pokemon, but there was 1 or 2 that were nearly invisible. They were fucking so small that you couldn't see. You literally could not see them in the tall grass. And they're even kind of hard to see not in grass, just like on the normal ground. So yeah, it was pretty annoying whenever I ran into those Pokemon. And especially later in the game, I would just be pissed. So I'd use my strongest attack against them and just totally obliterate them. Yeah. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I did that.
I'm going to punish you for thinking you could fight me.
Right.
That was kind of fun.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have many other thoughts. Yeah, I also enjoyed seeing all the Pokemon in the overworld. I'm glad they included that from Arceus. And I also agree that some of the Pokemon were nearly impossible to see, and I hated biking through them. Yeah.
My last thing is, I'm not sure it was smart of Game Freak to put Arceus and Violet and Scarlet out in the same year. Especially for introducing sort of new but similar mechanics to both games. I don't know. I think that it just would bring comparison maybe even more than even if, one of them would have come out at a slightly different time. Yeah. Because I think Arceus came out in January and this came out in November, both of 2022. Yep. And I feel like if Arceus would have came out like November the year before, it would have maybe been far enough that it didn't matter. Yeah. Or if Violet would have come out in, I don't know, February this year, I feel like it would be like, oh, whatever. Like, I wish it was like this, but like I feel like what this did was it like cannibalized Pokemon on itself a little bit. Like before these games both came out, I was like, oh man, Game Freak could have like 2 Game of the Year contenders, and instead they didn't have either.
It's true.
Which is a bummer because I think that they're both good games. Like, even any like I think I'm probably kinder on Violet and Scarlet than the internet seems to be. Like, I think the internet's a bit more angry about it than I am. I think it's a pretty good game overall, but I think that at the end of the day, it's going to continue to be compared to Arceus.
Yep.
So I think that's hard. So I don't know if that was smart by them. They probably should have waited a few months just to further that separation.
Yeah, and I agree. I liked Arceus more, but I didn't dislike this game at all.
Yeah.
And without getting into spoilers, I'm just gonna stop there. Before, yeah, we'll I'm sure we'll talk more about that throughout. But yeah, I think that's a good point. If it had come out a different year, or even months later, or Arceus came out months before it did, it probably would have been. Yeah, it just seems like there's features like, why didn't you include this? The games are like 8 months apart. Why'd you change this one feature? But if it was a totally different year, it does feel like it'd be, well, you tried something different in this game because it was different game, different engine, I don't know what, but
Right.
something.
Right. And trying two things out, like even in a game a year apart, wouldn't feel that weird. But in the same year, part of it's like, well, why wasn't it the same though? Like,
Yeah.
weren't you were probably working on these simultaneously? I mean, it was probably two different teams, but still, like, you'd think that they would have shared more stuff. I don't know.
They probably. Yeah, and I don't think this is spoilery at all, but if Arceus had come out after this game, I think I would have liked this game more.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Because it did improve a lot on Sword and Shield. But I feel like it didn't improve on Arceus at all, personally.
And I guess that's your hard part, is the same year thing especially, is if you're looking at the games as success of, like, did you improve on this? But, for a game, my impression, at least, I'm not a game dev and don't know much about it other than what I've read online. But what it seems like is when people put out games, like the last 3 months before the game's out, they're not making the game anymore. They're just bug testing, like all that sort of stuff. Like, so really for this game, if Arceus finished bug testing, end of 2021, they're doing that up until the release in January. Well, this game comes out in November, so they stopped making it probably in the summer. So there's a really limited feedback pool that they could even get, and they probably can't change that much by that point. Like, you're still probably pretty committed before then it's just fixing bugs. Which I guess didn't work that well either.
It did not.
So, like, I don't know. I think that if you would have just kicked the can down the road a little bit and not, like, they had announced the November release date pretty early on, and it's like, you could have just said, late 2022, and then in the summer be like, hey, we're going to go a little longer, like, the feedback we've gotten into Arceus, we really want to implement and do something, even if they didn't.
People would probably love that. Like, all right, cool.
Like, that would, I don't know. I think that was probably just unwise a little bit.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, you're right too. If there was no Arceus, if this was the game we got after Sword and Shield, that would be like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
They
did what people wanted.
Right. They took the wild area and made it a game. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, that's so cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's who this game should be compared to.
It should be. Yeah.
It should be, but it won't be.
It came out after.
Because of Arceus. Yeah. That is unfortunate. If those release dates were flopped too, I bet it would be like, it was good and then even better. Like, it would feel so.
I think so too.
That
they did that weird.
Yeah. Anyway, we can get into the game itself.
Yeah.
That's
I feel mostly not spoiler. Yeah, not spoiler at all.
Yeah. Recap. All right. So now we're getting into our recap itself, kind of diving deeper into the game and kind of what happens, the main storylines, all that stuff. So our game begins. You are starting school. I'm guessing you're new to the town you're in or something like that. And new kid to the school. And Director Clavel stops by to kind of tell you a little bit about the school you're going to be going to. And he introduces you to your neighbor, Nimona, who acts as sort of your friendly rival, I would say, through this game. When you meet her, Clavel gives you a Pokemon and says, all right, here's the 3 Pokemon that I've got. Which one do you want? just like your Professor Oak or whatever happens in the other games. So, who did you pick as your starter / why?
I picked Quaxley, the water duck guy. I did this because I liked him the best. I don't know. I didn't really have a really strong reason for it. I usually pick fire, so I think I didn't want to do that just because I usually do it. So I think that was probably the main reason I didn't pick the fire one.
Okay.
I generally would and will probably if I replay this game. Yeah, that's kind of it.
I was surprised when I saw that you didn't pick the fire one.
Yeah.
Because I know you normally pick fire.
I do, yeah.
Nice. I guess that was probably helpful, though, because there are a lot of good fire Pokemon in this game.
Yeah, after I did this, I was pretty glad, because I think I had a good fire Pokemon the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Multiple. I had to, pick which ones I wanted.
My final party had multiple fire Pokemon.
Oh, really?
Some of them could do other moves, but that's very fire heavy. So I picked Fuecoco. His introduction is great. He's such a derp. Sets an apple on fire. I was like, all right, this is my guy.
Yeah.
I thought about choosing Grass Cat, though. But, yeah, him being such a derp, I was like, I gotta get him.
That's you, dude.
Yeah. So, I was Fuecoco. We had some people write in. Andrew on Twitter said Fuecoco had exactly the amount of mindless, blissful derp that I wanted in my life.
Similar to you.
Totally. Andrew and me are on the same page.
Yeah. Nikki on Twitter said little fire guy because he's cute, and I always kind of pick the fire starters, so that's almost me.
Yeah. Chris on Twitter said I went with Quaxley, but I'm not really sure about that final evolution.
Yeah, wasn't really a big fan of it.
Okay.
Honestly, I benched my starter the minute I evolved them into the final start. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Brutal. I've never benched my starter because it feels too mean, even though I know it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I threw him in the box. Box 1.
Yeah.
You can live in this box now.
Box 1, slot 1.
Yep.
I'll come back, but really I'm not
I will not.
back.
I'll release you later. I almost released him.
You released your starter. That's so mean.
Is it mean, though?
It seems mean.
I'm letting you go live free.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow my commands to live in this prison ball anymore.
That's fair.
Or in this computer system.
Yeah, that's true. I guess being free is better than both of those.
Yeah.
Dr. Clavel's like, oh, how's Quaxley? You're like, oh.
I think he's alive still somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
That's an open world. I don't know.
He flew to the north. What are we on? Seto on Twitter said, Sprigatito. Am I saying that right? Sprigatito. I've never said these words out loud.
Sprigatito?
Yeah, Sprigatito. I had to get the adorable kitty, so grass one.
Morgan said Firestarter. I was hoping the final evolution would pay off, and it did. I agree.
Yeah, it did. I think it was the coolest final evolution. Yeah, okay.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Dakota on Twitter said Fuecoco.
And Graham on Twitter said Sprigatito because I usually opt for water type, but I wanted to try something different. Oh, how I missed the water type. So.
Grass is useless.
Big Bulbasaur guy over here, but I don't think I've used grass otherwise.
Bulbasaur is cool.
Actually, I don't even remember who I did in Arceus now.
You did the water one.
Okay, I did water and Sword and Shield also. Oh, look at me! I've done all the different ones.
Oh yeah.
I guess I just pick on which one I think is cute or funny. So
yeah, that's a good quality to pick for.
Yeah. Okay. We've got our Pokemon. Starting off, we do like a quick battle with Nimuna to try out our Pokemons. She chooses the one that is weak to you.
I hate that.
Instead of strong.
Yeah. A lot of the other games
I think Sword and Shield it was weak also.
I don't remember.
But I do feel like the old one, like definitely.
Oh, it's always
it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So mine, she had the Grass Kitty.
Yeah, mine she had the fire. Croc.
Yeah. So after that, you battle, and Clavel says, "Hey, see you at school. Nimuna will teach you how to get there." And so you head off towards the school together. On the way, you need to stop at a lighthouse to get some other info or something on the way. And you meet weak Meridon. Meridon's like washed up on the shore, like passed out, and you're like, this is a messed up looking Pokemon. And also, he looks real different.
Yep.
He's very like shiny, kind of looking like.
Looks like a computer.
Yeah, totally. And you give him a sandwich that your mom packed you, and he kind of gets a little bit of energy. And you start to go through this cave to get up to the lighthouse. And while you're there, a bunch of like scary dog Pokemon or wolf Pokemon start chasing after you. And Miradon like kicks some ass and saves you. That was pretty cool. And also was the first time I felt like Pokemon in the wild could be scary.
Yeah.
Ever. I was like, oh, that would be bad.
That dog would eat you.
Yeah.
I think it was bigger than, for sure bigger than, and there was a pack of, it was a Houndoom. That was the dog.
Okay.
And the Houndours were the pre-evolved form.
Okay. No, this is good.
Yeah. Those are from Gold and Silver and Crystal.
Oh, wow. Okay, so long timers. No, good to know. Also good to have you to fill in those blanks because I'm just going to...
I'll just tell you the names and tell you what types they are.
No, yeah. This is a perfect blend because I will just describe them badly.
The spooky dog showed up.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I'll describe everything. Or the one that was like Pidgey. That is going to be what I'll do, unfortunately.
The branch monster. The
Yeah.
cave monster.
Yeah, exactly. That's the pocket monster in the cave. Yeah, that's me. So do that, get out of there. Miradon basically like passes out after that. Because using that energy to defend you was a lot. And you're like, all right, this is a good guy. When you get to the lighthouse, Arvin's there, who's another character you'll meet. And he's mad at Miradon. I guess he was supposed to take care of him. But Miradon didn't really listen to him or anything. And he was like, fine, you keep him. And kind of fucks off.
Yeah, just scampers off.
Yeah. You're like, all right. So then you and Nimona head to school. At school, you get told that basically for this part of your year, or the school year starts with a thing where you go and find your treasure. So what's the thing that's meaningful to you? You pursue your own education. Sort of like if you had like a choose your own internship almost of like, what do you value in our region, and whatever you think is important, like work hard at that thing. And so like Nimona last year had become a Pokemon champion during this. So she suggests this as like, hey, this could be a cool way to find your treasure. And along the way, you get other opportunities of finding your treasure. What does this school year mean to me? And sort of this, finding your meaning.
Yeah. I wish they did this in real school, because I would for sure just go and play video games for like 6 months.
What did you learn? Well, I got pretty good at this.
I got really good at these 10 games I played, probably.
Right. Yeah, that would be cool.
I would abuse this system for
sure. Yeah. These kids must be better than we are for sure.
But also not all kids. It's for like anyone of any age.
In this?
Yeah.
Well, do you think that they are of any age, or do you think that they just have bad animations?
I think I remember them saying that there was no age.
For the students at the school?
Yeah.
Oh. That makes more sense, because there were a lot of times where I'd fight like Gabriel the student, and he was like 70.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy's not a student. Fix your animation.
Yeah, no, I think they were students, which I don't know how that would work.
Huh.
You can put like a 70-year-old and a 10-year-old in the same classroom.
Right.
Seems kind of...
And Pokemon based. Huh. Weird. That I'm glad there's an explanation, because there were multiple times where I almost like screenshotted a battle I was in. It's like, this guy's not a student.
Well, he was technically.
Or
not for long.
Yeah. All right. So you head off though to find your treasure. This introduces you to your 3 big storylines that this game is. Since it's open world, you can of course do this in any way you want, roughly. Each kind of section has spots where I guess there would be like recommended levels you might be at for these. I'm trying to think of anything else important about kind of the structure of these. No, I feel like that.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, I guess as we get into them, you'll see how they affect each other, but all spread across your region. So I guess first we'll start off with the gyms. Victory Road. Your kind of main companion for this is Nimona. She's not with you at every gym, but probably every couple gyms she has you sort of test your growth, and she'll battle you. And she always battles kind of around the level that you're going to be at for the gym that she shows up for. And also, that she's like a great battler. So she wants like the challenge of the fight. So she doesn't come with her best 6 Pokemon.
Yeah.
She comes with Pokemon that are similar to where you're probably at to give you a challenge because she really wants to help. She wants you to beat this gym challenge and then be a champion like her and then be able to battle her as a champion.
Yeah, like real battle.
Yeah, like that's what she really wants someday. And so she's a really encouraging friend, I would say, along the way through this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And is like so stoked about anything you succeed at. And
She's very nice.
Yeah, she's super nice. So for this storyline, I guess what we could just do is mention the gyms and maybe thoughts we might have about them. I don't know. A lot of the gyms in this one, to be honest, for me, felt just kind of like they were the least interesting of the 3 storylines to me. And so for me, when I battled them, like I didn't have gym leaders that stood out to me exceptionally or anything like that, like I had in Sword and Shield or Red and Blue. I feel like there were gym battles or leaders that I was more into. These ones, they each had like a gimmick for what they are.
Yeah.
So it was like the DJ,
Yeah. I'll tell you which one I hated the most once we get to it. But
okay, or whatever. One of them was an influencer, like stuff like that, and I don't know. I think that was very much a thing that was for people who weren't me. I was like, I'm sure children enjoy that, and this game is more for them than for me. But I definitely preferred gym leaders in other games than that.
yeah, that's fair. None of them really stood out. There's 2 that did, which we'll talk about them when we get to them. But yeah, one different wrinkle in this game too was in other games the gyms were you'd fight like 2 to 5 trainers or something, and then you'd fight the gym leader.
Oh yeah.
In this you did like different random tasks that were somehow relevant to the gym's type or like theme.
Yeah.
So that was different.
That was different. And some of them were like things that felt like mini games.
Yeah.
Like there was one where you like take a thing through a maze, right?
Yep.
Basically, like you push a ball through it.
Yeah, the ball, or I forget what it was. Was it a ball? So yeah, something. There's one where you find a bunch of Pokemon that were hiding.
Yeah. So it was sort of an interesting way to do that. I think I'd prefer the battling.
Me too.
But I thought it was a cool thing to try. Like, definitely, I feel like I'd give props for Game Freak for doing that, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah, and some of them did involve battling, but it was like, I don't know. Some of them felt kind of gimmicky, and it seemed like maybe they were for kids. Like there was one where it was like you had to like, I don't know, exercising. You had to hit the button at the right time. It was really easy, but it was just very tedious. And like, it was way too long.
Yeah.
You had like 15 seconds to hit the right one of 4 buttons. It's like, okay, come on.
That's right.
Yeah. It was way too easy. And then you would still battle someone. It's like, why don't we just battle the people instead?
Yeah, I think I would rather the kind of normal gym types of old. You battle 2 or 3 people to get there.
Yep.
I don't know. I would have been good with that.
That's my thing too. I'd prefer that.
Yeah. Okay. So first gym we've got is called Cortando Gym. This is the bug gym. And then the one after it is Artozone Gym. This is the grass one. These 2 kind of blend together to me.
Yeah, I don't really remember either. Specifically.
I remember just being able to beat them pretty easily since I was fire type.
I had at this point I had a fire Pokemon, so I obliterated them.
Okay.
Very quickly.
Then next up is Levincia Gym. This was the electric type.
I hated this gym leader. This was the influencer.
Okay.
So annoying.
Yeah.
Very annoying.
Because they made you like hype up a crowd, right? Was that this one?
You had to find Director Clavel on like security cameras.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, you're right. I think that was this one.
Yeah, I just hated the gym leader. It was fucking annoying.
Yeah, I thought that was annoying for sure.
It's like I kind of liked it because she was so annoying. So I'm gonna beat you on your fucking live feed.
Yeah,
just obliterate your Pokemon.
Yeah,
and I obliterated her.
That is how I felt too. Cascara Fa Gym. Jeez, that one was rough to say.
I think that's right though. Yeah.
Was the water gym. I think I remember this one. This was the first one where I had to rely on other Pokemon because the way I play these games usually is I just try to overlevel my starter and then just bully people. And it usually works. But since I had the fire type, I needed to...
You got bullied.
Yeah, I needed to rely on my other guys because even if it was a fire that's overleveled, he's going to... If they get a hit on him, he's going to be out quick. So, that was the main thing I remember with that one.
I did this one later than I should have, so I just killed this guy.
Okay.
I think I did him like second to last.
Okay. That makes sense. I guess also, I think I said it in the beginning, but I did basically everything in the order for difficulty, roughly. Okay. And also the way in the recap I wrote it down in difficulty order.
Cool.
So I guess, obviously, since it is open world, people could do these pretty different ways. I guess? Huh. Well, I guess they wouldn't listen to you. I was going to say, if you somehow got really over-leveled Pokemon and then went to the last gym, then you could get Pokemon up to a high level obeying you. I guess you'd have to do that through like doing raid battles with friends.
Yeah, and you have to train them up. You couldn't catch them high.
Could you catch them high in a raid battle?
No. I looked this up, actually. How it works, like the leveling scaling system, is if you catch a Pokemon under the level that you're like, quote unquote, allowed to catch Pokemon at, it will obey you no matter what. If you raise it past the level you're allowed to catch Pokemon at, if that makes sense.
Oh, so if
you just can't catch Pokemon higher than that level. I think that's how it works.
And then they stop listening to you if they're over that level.
I think even if they're over the level, like let's say your level was 40, I think if you catch a Pokemon at level like 20 and raise it to level 41, it will still obey you at 40 or past 40, even if you can only.
I definitely had Pokemon not listen to me.
Oh, really? I never had that, and there was definitely a spot in the game where I had Pokemon higher level than the level I was at, based on the gyms that I had beaten. But I think it's because one was my starter, but it's because I had them since they were like level 5 or something.
Okay.
So I think there's some system there where like if you caught them at an early enough level and you raised them for long enough, there's no level cap on them.
I feel like I had to have had some in raids that were too high. Because I definitely had a couple for a little bit in the game in the middle when I did some raid battles with a friend where I had Pokemon that would like, I'd get in a battle and they wouldn't listen to me for like 3 turns, but the one turn they did, they just wipe them out. So it was like, well, if you can survive.
Trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably because you caught them too high or something, I would assume. I don't know.
I feel like it was either a raid or maybe I got them traded to me and I just don't remember.
Yeah, that's...
Because we did...
Same thing.
We might have done that too. I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, next gym is the Medali gym. This is the normal gym. This is the gym leader I thought was funniest.
Me too.
They were like some middle manager, basically.
Yep.
They were kind of like, fine, I guess I gotta fight Pokemon.
I also found him to be the hardest gym leader.
Yeah.
I think normal is kind of hard. I didn't have any fighting Pokemon at this point, so it was kind of like I couldn't super affect him at all. It was all just chipping away. So I found him to be the most difficult.
Yeah. So that one was kind of fun. We've got the Montanevera gym. That's the ghost gym. And then the Alfrenata gym is the psychic gym. I'm trying to think of...
The ghost one was the DJ.
Okay.
You had to rap, I think.
Yeah.
Or you had to hype the crowd up. That was this one.
Yeah.
Which I was annoyed by. But...
I'm trying to think of anything else.
Psychic one was the makeup, fashion
Okay.
person. I think I don't remember.
Was the psychic gym the next one? The Glacido gym is the ice one, but were both of those on the ice mountain? Is that right? Or was Ghost
Was.
Ghost and
I
Ice
think
were?
Ghost. Yeah, Ghost and Ice were.
Okay, I remembered at the end of the game I had two that were on the ice mountain.
Mm-hmm.
They had to deal with. Yeah. After this, so you beat all your gyms. You make it through, and then you go and battle the Elite Four like you do. The Elite Four, along the way, you've met them. They'll come as you're like, oh, you're at Gym 3. Like, oh, we hear you're good. We hope you get to battle you. All of that. So, I'm trying to think of the Elite Four. There's a little kid.
Yeah, there's the teacher who's the art teacher.
The normal gym leader.
Yeah, yep, which I was surprised by.
And then the guy who yells a lot. Or is that the teacher?
That's
the other one's the first
teacher.
guy.
The first guy's got like a long ponytail.
Yeah.
He's just
he's like fine.
Yeah.
He was easy for me.
Yeah, I don't remember. They were all easy for me. I was pretty over leveled.
I got pretty over leveled by this point too. I did a lot of raid battles to get candies to just.
Yeah, I think all my Pokemon in the 70s at this point, so I just. Yeah, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, wrecked through them. Mm-hmm. And then once you beat the Elite Four, you battle Geeta, who you've also met along the way, and she's like the champion's champion. Like, I think she might be the top rated champion. Yeah. So like, she's someone Nimona admires. Like, everyone views her very highly. You battle her. She also has a Pokemon that no one else has seen before. And so it's pretty like, whoa, you have this cool Pokemon. How did you get this Pokemon? Sort of feel.
Which one was that?
It's one that she got from Area 0.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
I forget which Pokemon it is, but that was like a talk of the town type of thing. Because no one had seen it before. So like, how did you get this cool Pokemon?
Mm-hmm. I stole it from this environment.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, it's another region. Like, I think she just kind of played it cool. But you beat her. Finally, you've beat everyone. You're a champion. You're great. You get a final battle with Nimona. And you beat her, and she's like so psyched. Mm-hmm. And it's like, let's do it again. I want to battle again. Like, she's just all about it, but is really stoked to have like a true rival. She like lets down her guard, like battles full on. And she's like, to get to battle and face real competition. Like, that's cool. I haven't felt that in a while, kind of thing. So that's the first storyline.
Yep. 1 of 3.
1 of 3. All right. I'd say the other two have a lot more interesting stuff to say. And so I feel like we'll probably have a little more dialogue about them. Next one is called Starfall Street. This is doing Team Star battles with Cassiopeia. This one starts back at school before you get sent out on your finding your treasure quest. And there's a girl named Penny who's getting bullied by Team Star. And you step in to help. You beat them. Team Star's annoying. Mm-hmm. They say hasta la vista all the time.
Yeah, they do that stupid star motion.
Yeah, and do a star motion. And they always do it. You always have to see it whenever they leave. It's unfortunate. Yep. But you step in and help out. Then a little while after this, you get contacted by Cassiopeia, who says, "Hey, I heard about how you were like brave and helped out, stepping up to Team Star when it was scary. I think you could be the one to defeat Team Star. They've become a problem. I want to get rid of them, and I think I could help you." And so we're like, "All right, cool." And so they tell you where each of the bases for Team Star is. And when you show up to the base, Clive shows up, who is Dr. Clavel.
Clearly Dr. Clavel.
In a very not good surprise.
Yep.
This old man trying to act like a young person. Mm-hmm. Very hello, fellow kids.
Yes.
Which is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is definitely really goofy and funny, because every dialogue option you have with him is like, Director Clavel? And he's like, no, it's Clive.
Yeah.
Like, okay, man.
I played along with his ruse for him.
I did not.
Because he seemed like he wanted it. So I was like, oh, wow, you're Dr. Clavel? Once he, like, reveals it.
I did not at all.
So the sequence you get in for these results in you go to a battle, you go to a base. At the base, first you have to beat, like, the first guard that's there. Then you can get inside the base itself. Inside the base, you have 10 minutes to defeat 30 Pokemon. This is pretty fun. I feel like this is a cool idea for how the bases go. So rather than individually fighting everyone, 30 Pokemon you have to defeat 30 Pokemon. They all get sent out. You're allowed to use your first 3 starters. And so you're just kind of running through battling Pokemon.
It's like the auto-battling mechanic, too. You, like, send your Pokemon out, and they just, like, automatically attack them and beat them. Or lose.
Yeah, so they're doing the fighting, which is really cool. You don't have to hop in and out of battle. Instead, you're just, like, running through the base. And if anyone needs revived, you can go to Clavel and he'll heal them. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. When you beat a base, Penny ends up bringing you a reward from Cassiopeia later on, and is like, hey, here's some stuff. Thanks for beating that one. Let me know when you go to the next base. So that's sort of your sequence of these. Also, I guess each battle you do, when you battle the boss, they have a couple Pokemon, and then their last one is like the car Pokemon.
Yeah, but Rev of Room or something. I forget the name.
Yeah, I didn't like the car Pokemon.
Yeah, it's like a souped up version. It's like a large version of that Pokemon.
Yeah. I thought that was sort of dumb, but
yeah, me too.
But whatever. I did like these a lot though overall. So you've got 5 Team Star bases you have to take down. You have the Dark Crew, the Fire Crew, the Poison Crew, the Fairy Crew, and the Fighting Crew. And with each of these, you find out once you beat one, you sort of find out their origin story of how they joined Team Star. And
kind of what their role on the team is.
Right. Like one of them, I think the last one was really good at battling. And so they taught the other 4 how to be good at battling Pokemon. I'm trying to think of what the other ones did.
One was like the costume designer.
Yeah.
One was like a general like planner.
One was a small kid too in this one, right?
Yeah. Maybe he had like money or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I.
And each sort of had a like corresponding like high school stereotype they might have with them. But I thought worked significantly better for me than the gyms and then their stereotypes. For whatever reason, these kids all sort of worked for me. Except for that, what you find out is basically they become Team Star because they were being bullied. And so they wanted to come up with a way to step up to the bullies. I like that a lot as the concept. But when you find out that they were all bullied, you're like, I don't know, like the first guy, you like seemed like you would have been a cool kid. Who's bullying you?
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little silly. But I did really like that the concept was that they became a team to fight back against the bullies to kind of change that. I thought that was a great way for their team to start. Great origin story.
Yeah, definitely. And then you find out that, so Director Clive, well, he's like investigating to figure out, because they're all like students from the school and they're like not going to class. So he's like, I'm about to have to expel you guys, whatever. So you find out kind of why he's interested, and he's more trying to figure out should he expel them or not. Right. He's also trying to get them to go back to school.
Yep. And also, I guess the way it goes with beating each base is if you beat a base, if you beat the leader, then basically it disbands that crew. And if their crew's disbanded, then it's sort of like, well, I guess I need to go back to school because, like, my crew's gone.
Yeah, nothing else to do.
Yeah, nothing else to do kind of thing. And also in this, you find out that when they stepped up to the bullies, it was, like, barely a fight. They beat them right away. And the bullies all left and like unenrolled from the school and went somewhere else.
Yeah, it looks like they ended up being the bullies, even though they were just trying to like not get bullied.
Right. Yeah, they were stepping up, but because of how it looked like they bullied them out. And also, I would say that Team Star, because it started out as a cool thing for the 5 of them plus the boss, it was a good thing at one point and then became a bad thing because, when you meet them, they're bullying.
Yeah, they are.
So Team Star started out as a cool thing to help out and then became a thing that wasn't meant to be.
Yep.
And so it was good that you disbanded it. So you do that, then Katsupia rings you after beating all of the bases and says, "Good job, but we've got to take care of the big boss. That's the last one left." And surprise, I'm the big boss, so you have to come beat me. Yeah, and you're like, "All right, that's kind of what I thought."
Yep.
And they say, "Meet me at school, after dark tonight, and we can battle. And if you can beat me, then it's really over. I can't let you beat me because I don't want it to die, but I also want it to die. So please bring your A game." Basically, and you're like, "All right, cool." You show up to school, and Dr. Clavel says he's Cassiopeia, which I thought would have been cool if it held true. But it wasn't. You beat him, and he says, "Okay, good. I wanted to make sure if you could beat me, then you could probably beat them. If you couldn't beat me, then I was going to go battle them." And you're like, "All right, that's cool."
Makes sense.
That's actually a good move by him as a person. But I do kind of wish it was him because it would have been cool.
Yeah, it would have been very, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, really?
I was not surprised by who it actually was. But.
Yeah, who it actually was makes sense. So you beat Clavel, Cassiopeia, you then go at night, and it's Penny, who you helped at the beginning of the game. Makes sense since Penny's been involved through this, right? With bringing rewards after each battle. She was there when it started. Being Cassiopeia, she was just using a voice changer, basically, so you didn't recognize her.
Yep.
Makes sense. You beat Penny. She's glad it's over. Penny then meets with the Star Crew because they had actually never met her in person. She was just the boss from afar, basically.
From the phone.
Yeah, and they have sort of a good moment of like, "Oh, wow, we know each other, and, good to actually meet you," kind of thing. And Clavel wants to set up some things with them to basically help kids.
Yeah.
Maybe it seemed like almost a summer camp
of sorts something like that
was run by the Team Star people, but it wasn't Team Star. But basically using the good that they tried to bring about in some manner.
Yeah, I forget the specifics, but that in general that's what it was. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. On to final storyline, or main storyline. This one's called Path of Legends. This is battling Titan Pokemon with Arven.
Which are just giant versions of normal Pokemon.
Yep. And so Arven asks you to join his quest to create the perfect sandwich with these special herbs that are guarded by the Titan Pokemon. And at first when you meet Arven, you're like, "This dude's a dick. I don't like you." At first I was like, "Can I just skip all of these? I don't want to be around you." That was how I felt playing the game.
He did suck at first.
At the beginning, you're like, "You're kind of a bitch." And kind of the way these go is you find the Titan Pokemon, big version of a Pokemon. You have to battle them a couple rounds.
2 rounds.
2 rounds, and the first one you get them closer to fainting, and then they get kind of restored, and then you knock them out.
Yeah, they run off, eat the herb.
Yeah.
Get stronger, then Arwen helps you battle them, then you beat them, and then get the herb.
Yeah. And what happens in these is you go, you beat them, all of that, and then you make the sandwich with the herbs that are there. Miradon pops up and says, "Yo, I want a sandwich." And so you give Miradon one, and what this does is it unlocks travel abilities for Miradon as it goes. So instead of in past games where you might have a Pokemon that you'd fly on, or have the bicycle or do cut or whatever.
That's right.
I don't know if cuts was.
It was one. It was annoying.
I know it was in the first one.
It's in most of them.
Okay, I know it was there for a while.
Yes.
But instead, Miradon covers all of these. Or in Arceus, you had a different Pokemon who had each ability.
Yeah.
Instead, all of yours are in Miradon. So I think at first it's like, oh, you can ride your bike faster, or you can glide or whatever. One of them is you can climb. The climb one was the best.
Yeah,
for
climbing the cliffs that open up the most.
I think that one was the last one you get.
Yes.
I think once I got that one, the game that was when I felt like I was speed running.
Yeah.
I was just going quick because I could finally move.
Yeah, you can go over anything at that point.
Yeah. The fly, not so great in this.
It's not very useful.
No,
it's good if you're jumping up something really high and you want to travel long distance quickly, but yeah, that's about it.
I like the glide better in Arceus, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Or no, you could fly.
Could you fly in Arceus?
At the end, I think you could actually fly.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Whatever. So those are the big things. Also, in this, at the beginning, Arven's sort of secretive, standoffish as he is, and you find out that he's been giving these sandwiches to Mabostiff.
Mabostiff?
Yeah.
No.
Who is his old dog Pokemon.
And yeah, he was got hurt really bad and is sick and weak and needs.
Yeah, and when you meet him, he's rough looking.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that poor old dog.
Gonna die.
Yeah, it felt like that. And as you go through, and Arven's giving him these sandwiches, he's really coming back, becoming lively. By the end, he can battle.
Yeah, he's normal.
Yeah, he's come back, and this totally cast a entirely different view on Arven for me. Of okay, you're not some guy who's a dick. Instead, you really care about your Pokemon and want to do something really dangerous if it can help him, and so he pulls you into it because he knows he's not a good trainer. But he cares about his Pokemon, so he's like, I need to be part of this.
Yep.
And total reframe. You're like, all right, you're actually pretty
I actually
cool.
liked him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he ended up becoming my favorite by the end.
Me too. Well, it's up there with him and Nimona. But.
Yeah, Nimona's pretty great too. Yeah. But he ended up being great. And you're like, all right, I really get you. I would be the same way as you, I feel like, in this. So
yeah,
really cool. Well done by Pokemon with that. So Pokemon Titans you get here, you have a Rock Titan, a Flying Titan, a Steel Titan, a Ground Titan, and then there's a Dragon Titan, but it's not actually a Dragon Titan. It's like a fake out.
It's the false Dragon Titan.
Yeah. All of these, I don't know. They didn't especially stand out to me as the experience. The story was what stuck with me more in this.
Yeah. Yeah, none of the battles were especially hard.
Yeah. Well, and you can use more than one Pokemon. As time goes, if yours gets knocked out, you're not out.
Yeah.
It's not one-on-one. You can keep throwing new ones out if you needed to.
Yeah, I didn't find this too difficult. I agree. I'm more just seeing Arven's character develop, and then you get even more as the game ends. But
yep.
Yeah. I like this one.
Yeah, totally. Also, along the way, kind of as you defeat a Titan and you get a new ability, Dr. Toro contacts you and it's like, hey, he tells you about the ability and what Miraidon can do now. And you find out in this early on, too, that Dr. Turo, or Professor Turo.
Yeah.
Professor Turo is Arven's dad. But Arven kind of hates his dad because he was never around kind of thing.
Yeah. He's always doing his science thing and
yeah,
he's missed all my sports games and birthdays or whatever.
Yep. Kind of thing.
Yep.
And so this one culminates. This is also end of game, so you have to sort of finish all the things by this point. But Dr. Turo contacts you to come to Area 0. Area 0 is where his research lab is. Arven is that's where Mabostiff got hurt and is definitely wary of going to Area 0. And he's like, if we go back there, we need, you need to be great, we need to be great to be able to do this. So you put together a team of Arven, Nimona, and Penny. Each of you have things you're good at. You're going to head to Area 0, and you're going to go help Professor Turo. You get into Area 0, and you have to, glide into it, the staircase or elevator or whatever. It's all destroyed. There's not, a way in except by, flying down on Miraidon. And when you get down there, Dr. Turo, or Professor Turo, needs you to go to 4 research stations to click an unlock button to unlock the base that he's in at the center of Area 0.
Yeah, that's like at the bottom center.
And so as you're going through, you come across all sorts of futuristic, powerful Pokemon that no one's ever seen before. This is where we see one of Gita's Pokemon, and you're like, whoa, that's hers. Like, that's where this is from, and kind of clicks into place. These Pokemon are wild, like, just to see them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're really strong, too.
Yeah, it was really cool. I like that a lot. You make your way through. I think at each base, you have to battle one of the futuristic Pokemon.
Yeah.
To kind of be able to unlock it and get inside, kind of thing. You open up Turo's base once you finally get down there, and multiple big Pokemon come out.
Yeah, tons.
And you have like this wild battle going on where you're like, all right, I have to fight this one. All right, now I'm over here fighting that one. And I think each of your teammates are helping fight as you try to do this. And
yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, the goal is so they don't escape because they're like gonna just fuck shit up basically. They're
right.
Crazy and really powerful.
Yeah, if these powerful Pokemon got into Paldea,
they would like destroy the ecosystem, I think, is the fear.
Right. So we have to knock them out.
Kill them all right now.
Yes.
It's kind of that's what happens.
Yeah. Ultimately, you do beat them all, and Turo shows up. And Turo reveals that Turo is AI. That the real Turo had died years ago, saving Miradon.
True.
Because there's well, I guess it hasn't shown up yet. Saving Miradon, and they tell you that these Pokemon are actually from the future. That's how they've got here. He made a time machine while he was down here. That's how these Pokemon have got here. We've got to destroy the time machine so that we don't ruin Paldea if these Pokemon ever got out. Like, all right, cool, that makes sense to me.
Checks out.
Let's do it. And Turo warns you, hey, since I'm AI, if you destroy this, my system is going to reset and I'm going to fight you. And so you have to battle Turo. You do that. It looks successful, and then it's not. And then Miradon has to battle bigger Miradon.
The evil version of that.
The evil version, right?
Yeah.
They have to battle. Your Pokeballs like get locked. Like,
yeah.
So Miradon's like the only one, and it's like, all right, showdown. And Miradon, I guess, had lost a battle against this Pokemon back in the day, and basically was like, this is my territory, get out. And that's how Miradon ended up with Arven in Paldea. And so you have this final fight. You managed to beat Miradon. It's evil one.
Yeah, the dark Miradon.
And Turo AI is like, all right, I'm somehow still here, and we beat this. We have to destroy the time machine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send myself through this time machine because it'll break the time machine, because if I'm not here for it to work, I'm like synced to it, it'll be destroyed and we'll be done. No time travel. Only the futuristic Pokemon that are here, they're the only ones. The end.
All right.
And that's what happens. Whoa.
Yeah, pretty crazy. That's the first time that I can think of that there's been like someone died in Pokemon, and it's like kind of sad.
Yeah.
So Arvin was like pretty sad. His dad was dead, and yeah, it's like, ah, man, it's a bummer.
Yeah, and finding out like who his dad was more. Like, he wasn't only a dick.
Yeah.
He at least probably was a dick when he started out doing all of this, but then like tried to become a good person and ended up dying and stuff. But like, it seemed like he tried to figure it out.
Yep.
Also explains even more insight into where Arvin's at. Makes sense.
Yep.
You're like, all right, all of this would be hard to find out that like, oh, I thought my dad was a dick the whole time. It turns out he's been dead a long time.
Just dead.
he's been dead. And then I thought I was reconnecting with him, but it was an AI. And complicated.
Very complicated, for sure.
Yeah. Also, just the concept of future Pokemon and them showing up here. Very cool.
Yeah, they're all like metal and like computer looking.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah. I guess actually, we'll move into general thoughts since that was part I was
that
already
was your
talking about.
first.
But
Yep.
that was my first thought. But I thought it was really cool. Just the idea. I would have never thought to add time travel to Pokemon, or really thought much about like Pokemon from different eras
like
and what
evolving.
they could. Yeah,
Evolving not just into different evolved forms, but like literally the whole Pokemon changes or whatever.
yeah, totally. Or that there could be new types. Like I think in my mind, I just would have thought present day, different regions kind of thing. So this bringing in a totally different thing. Mm-hmm. My understanding is with Scarlet, it's the opposite. It's Pokemon from the past.
Yeah.
Which is also cool.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what I know, I'm happy I got the future game because I think future is still cooler. Past is awesome. Like,
This is lame.
I feel like past, I don't know if it was like dinosaur type Pokemon. That seems cool. But I don't know. These futuristic ones were really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
Really satisfied with the game I got.
Yeah, me too. I definitely prefer this one.
Yeah, time travel, future Pokemon, all about it. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like I forget what the legendary is in in Scarlet. I definitely prefer Miraidon that we got in our game
Yeah.
for sure. One thing, so we didn't really talk about this at all actually, but like since like what game? X and Y, there's been like a battle gimmick thing, like Mega Evolution was the first one, which I think is the best one. But yeah, this one was terrestrializing.
Oh, yeah. We didn't.
Terrestrializing. Whatever. Should have practiced these words. But yeah, your Pokemon like gets like turned into like a crystal version of it and changes its type potentially. I didn't really like this or use it ever. I just found it kind of gimmicky, and I made it a point to never use it because everyone talked about it being really sweet. And the game was like, I'm going to not use it and beat everyone. So yeah, that was something I didn't like, was that. I liked the Dynamaxing more.
No.
It felt way more like useful
Yeah.
than this did.
I feel like for this one, the concept is cool of if it changes your type.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting. But I didn't really do it. I did it a few times, like just to try it out. But it seemed like where its real usefulness is if you're like doing raids and like people who are trying to get that level 100 Charizard or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, all right, how can I get a Pokemon that will have the moves that go with this or that? Like,
yeah.
But aside from that, yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know, it's cool as a lore idea. I didn't find it that cool practically. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Instead, like we were saying, at the end of my game, I was just an overleveled fire Pokemon. It didn't matter who I was fighting.
Yeah, just obliterate
I was
whoever it
just gonna set them all on fire.
Yeah.
That was what I just did.
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't like... I think that's a good point. The lore was cool with it. But I didn't want to use it.
Yeah, totally.
Personally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can get down with that. Another thing I've got is I think this might have some of the best companions in Pokemon game. With Nimona, Penny, and Arven, I thought they were all interesting.
Yep.
Storylines we talked about were all interesting. But, yeah, like I was thinking back to Sword and Shield, the kind of annoying kid who's your best
Pop.
friend. Yeah.
Always yelling at you.
Yeah, and like he was nice, but he was always yelling, and you're like, I don't know, you're like fine, I guess. I did like the goth girl.
Yeah.
I forget her name. I thought she was fun.
Do too.
I thought she was fun with her scary Pikachu thing.
Don't remember.
The Pikachu that has like the black.
Oh, I know what you're talking.
dark
Mimic. It's like Mimicachu or something.
Yeah, I thought she was cool, but I think that this is just a good crew
Yeah.
of companions. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah. Personally, I think Nimona was like the best rival of the game.
Yeah.
The most fleshed out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing we had mentioned very briefly at the beginning, but there's a ton of bugs in this game, which it didn't ruin it for me at all. And I think honestly it was more funny than anything. Like there was a random, I think I sent you that one clip of like the Wiglet that like,
Oh yeah.
just like got superimposed into this trainer's between his legs. Looked like it's a giant dick. It was really funny.
That was funny.
So I think it was funny. I never had any crashes or anything like that, so it didn't bother me really. It was more just like, come on, guys. But it did ruin it for a lot of people, I think. So, like, that's just one thing to note. If you're going to play this is, like, I'm sure you've heard this, but there's some bugs.
Yeah.
I assume they're going to keep patching it, maybe. But that's a thing.
And they patched fairly early on, too.
They did.
Okay.
They patched day one, and then they patched, like, a week after or 2 weeks after.
Okay. I wonder if I had, like, some things for sure. Like, I remember seeing them occasionally. But not as many as it was talked about. But I think I might not have played a ton that first week. Like, I might have bought it and was busy playing something else. And so it took me a little bit to get to it. So.
Yeah. Also, playing on the in docked mode was worse than playing on the handheld.
Oh.
So if you're going to play it, handheld's way better.
That's good to know.
Yes.
I only played handheld, so I didn't experience the
I
dock.
did both, and it was way better handheld.
Okay.
For sure. Yep.
Good to know.
Yep.
My last thing is, it makes sense. I feel like we've talked about it enough around it, but I liked Arceus more than this. I think,
Yeah.
like in Arceus, introducing that you could catch Pokemon without battling them, that was great.
Yeah.
I really, really like that. Especially as someone who, like, these games don't make you grind like they used to, which is great. But as someone who, I'm not going to grind anyway. Like, I just don't want to.
Yeah. Fair. Very fair.
I don't know. So I did find out during this game that you can do raid battles even if you don't have online, which is great.
Yep. Just get some computer teammates.
Yeah, which I thought you had to have online and you'd still get computer teammates. Like, I didn't know you could do it without having Nintendo Switch online. But I did it a bunch near the end of the game when I was just like, all right, I'm getting over leveled. I want to end this game.
Yeah, you get so many of those, like, XP candies, which is very useful.
Yeah, so I just did that a whole bunch. And maybe midway through the game, a friend of the show, Morgan, and I did some raid battles together. And that was where my squad got upgraded big time.
Nice.
Yeah, I probably had like 3 Pokemon that were like homegrown me the whole way. And I maybe got 3 when I was doing raid battles with him that were really good. And my squad was pretty nice by the end because of that.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, I liked Arceus more. I think that, the next Legends series game that comes out, I will definitely buy. I will still also buy the next,
I will also.
Pokemon Violet, Scarlet, Sword and Shield, whatever,
Yep.
mainline game. I'll
Yep.
buy both for sure. But I do hope that some of the things that were good in Arceus that weren't in this, I hope are in the future ones. And I hope they don't come out the same year.
Agreed fully. I also liked Arceus more. Yeah, the main gripe I had with this game was they removed the ability to catch Pokemon without battling them. That was just so sweet. Like, that you could just, there was no separate cutscene for battles. You would just throw your Pokemon out and they would battle. And that was it. Like that, and you could catch them by throwing a Pokeball. I can't believe they got rid of that. That was such a great feature.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if they add that back in, if they had that feature in this game, I think I would have liked it more than Arceus personally. But they didn't, so it hurt it a lot for me.
Yeah, I think that feature, and then for me, I'd said this on Arceus when we did that, but Arceus is the only time I've ever cared about wanting to fill out a Pokedex because of the way they did it.
Yeah, it was a cool system.
If you battle this Pokemon 10 times, then you get this amount of points and blah, blah, blah. And if you get a certain amount of points for a Pokemon, you've filled out their decks. You've entirely researched them. Now, in that game, it really made sense because you were truly figuring out things about Pokemon. In this one, everyone already knows. So I know that it's a little different, but that one, for me, in terms of wanting that, definitely increased it. Like, I still didn't go catch them all or try to do all the research, but I was much more interested in it than I've ever been.
That's fair. It was more engaging, for sure.
Yeah, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, something I don't like in this game that hasn't come up that we did get to do in Sword and Shield was where you could occasionally have battles where it was 2v2 or things like that.
Oh, yeah, they didn't. Oh, they did.
I think it happened like once.
When did it happen?
I think it happened in a gym battle.
It did. But yeah, that's a pretty common Pokemon thing nowadays, is to have 2v2 battles.
I feel like that should be more common. Like, I know that in the boss, like, raid part where you have the 3 versus 30 or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
different though.
Yeah, but I would really like... I thought that was really cool in Sword and Shield, how you did that a bit more often. of where you could get in 2v2 type battles.
Yeah, I mean that's very common in other Pokemon games. That was like introduced in shit, Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh, okay, so that's
Game Boy Advance days. I think. Don't quote me on that.
that's yeah. I wish they had that.
Yeah.
I think they should have used that more because I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I do enjoy those too. I think it was. I do remember there being a time or two when that was the case, but it was not common, and I remember thinking that was kind of weird because it was a staple of other games.
Yeah, I feel like that was a miss. I would have liked to have battled with like two of my Pokemon at different points. I think that would have been fun. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that was really cool in Arceus was if you were battling wild Pokemon, other ones could join in and they could attack you like together, and like that was really cool. If so, it was almost like strategic. Like you would want to not battle a Pokemon near other Pokemon if you're like trying to not get train wrecked or something. But yeah, so that was something I also missed.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Because they could get really chaotic really fast.
They could just keep coming.
Yeah.
You could have like 3-on-1 and like they would just attack you at the same time. So, kind of hard.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
That's really all I've got. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Heading towards wrapping up, one question we got from friend of the show Morgan was, what was your favorite new Pokemon? So what was yours?
I really liked Miraidon. Lots of reasons. One, just I like Dragon Pokemon a lot, and then Dragon Electric looked really cool. We already talked a ton about futuristic Pokemon look sweet. I think Miraidon was the coolest futuristic Pokemon, in my opinion. My favorite Pokemon.
Nice.
Yeah.
My favorite was Ceruledge. That was one of the ones that I got doing raid battles with Morgan, actually.
The Ghost Fire one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which was great. I think my party ended up being Ceruledge, and then another new Pokemon who had all the sword moves. What was it? They had it was a fire Pokemon, but it had slashes, but you could do like a grass slash, a ghost slash, a psychic slash.
Wasn't
that
this one?
Was it this one?
Yeah, because he had the sword arms.
Oh, maybe it was this one. Who's the other one then? I had two that were both fire. What was the other one? I don't know. Well, this one was great.
Yeah, this was like probably my second favorite new Pokemon.
Okay. Man, who's the other one I'm thinking of? I'm not going to find it. I remembered things about this one. I was thinking about... Oh, it's one that looked like a lizard, maybe.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But it was also new and cool and fire.
Yeah.
Because I had those three in my group for a lot of the game. And so it was like, you don't need all this fire, but they're all cool. So
they're all coming. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, the different types of slashes. That was sick.
Yeah.
That was so helpful because then in a battle, like, unless it was against a water one, because then they just put you out, that was clutch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used Ceruledge the whole game too, I think. So I caught him, Charcadet was the pre-evolve form. Got it super, like level 8 or something. And then,
wow.
Yeah, just went from there.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Last, we can go to listener feedback. Some of this is regular listener feedback. Some of the comments are in response to a question I asked about people's favorite thing in the game. So, if they do lean that way, that is why. First, though, we do have a comment from Morgan on Twitter, who said the technical aspects were disappointing. That aside, I think the new Pokemon were creative, and the story was my favorite in any Pokemon so far. I tried really hard to make my team mostly new Pokemon and was happy with how that turned out. I could see that. I mean, there were definitely several new Pokemon in my party at the end. So.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there was. I do agree with Morgan. There was a lot of really good new Pokemon. I think most of them I liked.
Yeah,
which is not common. It's like usually I like 10 of them.
Right.
But this one, like, these are all pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, and the technical aspects were disappointing. Absolutely, there's no way around that. They released a buggy mess.
Yeah.
Fun buggy mess, but a buggy mess.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki on Twitter said, traveling with Kraden, once I unlocked all its travel mechanics, was definitely neat. All the sandwiches for my good bikey boy. I feel that too.
Yeah. That was fun to see them gain new things.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Getting to feed the Pokemon a sandwich was fun.
Mm-hmm. The pre-order bonus on Twitter said, honestly, I was a big fan of the Arven storyline, but my favorite thing was the casual strolling and catching of Pokemon. So just kind of roaming.
Yeah, it was fun to roam.
Yeah, that's cool.
Seto on Twitter said, being able to travel anywhere, I have been exploring the map. I also like that. I did like finding random like TMs and like looking for random Pokemon that were rare. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I like that too. Once I was very annoyed about traveling in the beginning, but the second half of the game, especially once you can do everything,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
And just going everywhere. Like for me, when at the end of the game, when I was just trying to get over leveled, just going from raid battle to raid battle all across the map, super fun. And not something I would have done if I wasn't trying to get over leveled, but because I was, it was fun to do and I don't know, enjoyable. So
Yeah.
I agree. Meagle on Twitter said, finishing the Pokédex. Well
I've not
done.
done that yet. Yeah.
Nice job.
I'm going to do that at some point, but not right now. Let's Play Baseball on Twitter said, there was a lot to like in the new games, but I think the new Pokemon really shine. I can't think of a single one that doesn't deserve to be there. So yeah, I do think, I mean, I agree. I think a lot of the new Pokemon are really sweet. And I can't think of any I thought were stupid or didn't like,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, that's
It's been a while since I can say that.
Yeah, for sure. Last, we've got Josh on Twitter who said, how accessible shiny hunting became. It always felt like such a chore in old games, but the sandwiches made a big difference for me.
I did hear that people really enjoyed the new mechanics they added, because you could really drastically reduce like the encounter rate of shiny Pokemon, which people were really into this. And I thought about actually doing this game too. I didn't get around to it, but
Yeah, apparently if you make different types of sandwiches, that can increase the frequency of a shiny in an area, but even maybe certain shinies. I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure about that, how that works specifically, but I know if you complete the Pokedex, you get this item that increases shiny odds. Then also, like, when there's like Pokemon outbreaks on the map,
Yeah.
if you go there and just start like slaying Pokemon, it increases the odds of seeing a shiny Pokemon too.
Oh, cool.
And then if you throw in like making a sandwich, you can get it down to like 1 in 60 or something crazy, which is like really good.
No,
really
that's
good odds.
cool. And
Yeah.
you can see where ones are when you're walking around sometimes.
Yeah,
too,
they
right?
just look different.
Where,
Yeah.
well, I mean, and even like in an area, it'll shine.
Oh no,
Yes.
those are terrestrialized.
Oh,
Pokemon.
is that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, shinies are like
I know they're like the old versions.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I thought that the terrestrial. That makes sense. That's what those are.
I thought that's what those were first too, and then eventually I
Just
bought
the-
enough and I was like, nah, they're not.
just because they look shiny.
Yes,
that,
they
or
do.
the outlook.
They do
for
look
them.
shiny on the map. Yeah.
Yeah, on the
Then when you
map.
fight them after you beat the terrestrialized form, they're just the same.
That makes sense. I probably caught a couple of the terrestrialized ones, but not shinies. Then is my guess.
Yeah.
Because I'm not one for collecting, but I do like how they look. Like, I've seen a lot of pictures of different shiny Pokemon, and I'm like, that's cool. That's a cool variant to bring to Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I would say that, I mean, I guess overall too, with all the things we've talked about with Pokemon, it seems like they tend to have more good ideas than not good ideas.
I agree.
So, like, they have things I might not like or I would do different, but they do seem to keep it creative. And, I mean, the people that are devoted are really devoted. And,
Yes.
and even can have varying levels of that. Like, for you play all the games. You've played several of them many times, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But then you could also go further where you're like, oh, I always complete the Pokedex. I always get all the shinies. I always do, even deeper than what you do. And you're already like a very committed fan.
There's people that are way more into it than me for sure.
No, yeah. And then on the other side, like, I feel like I'm a very casual Pokemon fan. I played 4 games, so I feel like that's like, I'm in there enough. But I'm also like bottom tier.
Yeah, you're bottom tier for sure.
Yeah, definitely bottom tier. But it's kind of cool. So, yeah, I don't know. Overall, I would say a lot of good in this game, but the good in Arceus maybe overshadows it a little bit.
For sure. Yeah, I think there were some misses here, but overall, I definitely really enjoyed it. And if you like Pokemon, for sure play this. It's a fun game. It's good.
For sure. That's all I've got. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm all set.
Cool. All right. Well, that's our episode. If you want to talk more Pokemon with us, you can on Twitter @StoryEverPod. You can find us on Apple Podcast or anywhere else. Looking up The Greatest Story Ever Played. There we've got a backlog of a whole bunch of episodes, including those other Pokemon episodes mentioned off top. So if you want to hear us butcher Pokemon names, I know that's definitely in there on Sword and Shield. I said a lot of ones wrong then.
I'm sure I did too.
But those are there among lots of other games that aren't Pokemon. Yeah, check those out. If you would like to support the podcast financially, you can at patreon.com/thegreateststoryeverplayed. There for as little as $1 per month, that will get you monthly access to a bonus episode we do each month on topical things. Sometimes video game related, sometimes not. So an early episode we did was our favorite Pokemon. Maybe that would be different now if we did it again, because
It might be.
I know way more now. Back then I was probably all Gen 1. So maybe it would be a little different now. But also things like talking about like ranking Telltale Walking Dead characters, whatever. Stuff like that. So check that out if you're interested. If you'd want to support the podcast but you can't financially, that's totally great. If you would want to rate and review us on Apple Podcast or Spotify, that would mean a lot. Just being able to get the show in front of more people and get to share in games more together would be really cool. And yeah, that's our episode, and we'll see you next time.
See you.